welcome back. As always, be sure to leave a comment if you have anything to add to this video, any comments about this series, or any comments about the channel in general. Also, be sure to check out my other channel, YC Games. It's the one with the orange logo. And just a reminder, I'm streaming every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so feel free to stop on by, say hi, join in the Borderlands 4 discussion there. And with all that out of the way, let's jump right into it, because we are continuing our Borderlands 4 discussion series. First time we talked about Vault Hunters and NPCs. Second part, we talked about villains, and this time we are talking about the plants and environment, which doesn't sound as exciting, but actually, as I was writing this, the more I got excited to talk about it, because there's just a lot of fun ideas that go into this, so let's just jump right into it. With Borderlands 3 opening up the door to space travel and visiting multiple planets within a game, it's probably safe to say that Borderlands 4 is going to follow the same path. The only question is, do we go back to the planets we've already been to, or do we go to new planets? Now, personally, I don't think we need any new planets, unless they're going to obviously have some story lore reason to go on, but that'll mostly be discussed in the future video. But as far as I'm concerned, from an aesthetic point of view, and as far as like actual like gameplay and being in the game, I think the planets we've gotten in 3 are more than enough to give us another game out of. Because there's so much of all the new planets, especially that they introduced, that we haven't seen yet. They all have so much potential in their own right that we really don't need to visit any new planets. Just give us different environments on the planets we've already been to. Obviously, Pandora started off being like just desert, and that's all we got to see. But then with 2, we got to see so much more. And I really feel like they could expand each of the planets that we were given in 3 in a very similar way. Now, obviously, they're all going to have their own little niches, their own little quirks to them. But I feel like if we got that diversity, it'd be so cool to see what, like, an icy area on Promethea looks like, what a desert on Eden 6 looks like. Just mixing up enough that it feels foreign. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh yeah, this could be on Pandora. But it could only belong on, like, Eden 6 or on Promethea. Is so fascinating to me and so much more interesting as a concept that I want to see that from Borderlands 4. Not only seeing the new areas in the planets we've already been to, but even revisiting some of the areas that we didn't really get to see that much of. Like that giant city on Promethea. Such a cool concept for a city, but it felt like we didn't really get to explore it because we were just on the streets the whole time. We didn't get to go inside a lot of buildings. All the areas seemed very the samey because they were all just streets. And it was really kind of underwhelming, especially how cool it looked from the outside. I would want to actually get to explore it. Go down some alleyways, get on the rooftops, fight on from rooftop to skyscraper, jumping around, go inside, see what the interior of these buildings look like. There's so much potential for those kind of cities. It's just kind of a shame we didn't get to see any of it. And even on like Eden 6, such a cool swampy area, but it felt really annoying to navigate. I would love to see like what a bigger town in that kind of style looks like, or even just, I don't know, a better version of what we got, which I mean sounds kind of rough because it was a cool area. I love the like art direction, the art style of it all, but it just seems really weird that how diverse Pandora was. We didn't get to see that kind of diversity on these planets. When we were on these planets, they all had the exact same aesthetic. I would love to see it branched out more. Like we go back to Eden 6 and see like what a city looks like on Eden 6. Go back to Promethea, see like what a desert on Promethea looks like. There's so much potential. We have these whole planet-sized areas, and yet we're only spending these very, very tiny parts of the planet. Which I understand, it's a game, it makes sense, whatever, but at that point, it could have just all taken place on Pandora. We didn't get to see anything super new, it seemed. Other than Necrotafeo. Necrotafeo was very, very diverse, but again, it was only this very, very small section of Necrotafeo. We didn't really get to see much of that. Like, we definitely have to go back there and see more of it. And even, especially like Athenas, we barely saw any of Athenas or Necrotafeo, but Athenas has so much potential. I would love to fight in a giant temple, or even like go mountaintop to mountaintop fighting around. Just see all these little temples and little outposts or whatever else. But there's so much potential with that planet. Those 2 in particular that we just didn't see any of. but they probably had the coolest stuff going for them, in my opinion. And I would love to see what they would do with just bigger versions of those planets. So I really want to go back to especially Athena's and Necrotafeo. This is where things are probably going to get pretty controversial. I don't think we should spend any, if all, time on Pandora for Borderlands 4. Now, if I'm talking actual just straight predictions, then yeah, we're probably going to start the game on there, spend a good chunk of time, and then eventually take off and go to other planets, much like we did in Borderlands 3. But as far as wishlist goes, I think we're kind of done with Pandora. We've spent a lot of time there in game, and like I said, it's a very diverse planet. There's still more stories to be told on the planet, and there's still more areas that we could go and see, like the wreckage of opportunity, see destroyed Helios, see so many cool things from past games, like now kind of abandoned and even in a worse state than what they were at the time. So there's a lot of cool they could do on Pandora, but I think that would be a better like homecoming moment, either at the end of the game or even wait until like Borderlands 5, because they've tried so many times like to make Pandora such a major thing, like the Destroyer. Well, that kind of sucked. And then, oh, well, the Destroyer, that was actually just the part of the Destroyer. Now, Tyreen is opening up all of Pandora to get the real Destroyer out, and that was just a fucking terrible ending. So it feels like Pandora as a planet, as a device, as now that we know it is just a giant vault, it's kind of run its course. And it kind of feels like not a worthwhile thing to even save anymore as a planet, which sounds very down, but I feel like we're past it. We should move on and go beyond. But like I said, it would be a very cool like homecoming moment later on at the end of the game or in a future game to come back and like that's the final defense or whatever. I could see them doing that too. But as far as the majority of the game goes, I'd rather see what other planets can offer. I'm just going to come out and say it. Sanctuary 3 is not a good hub area. It's a cool idea, which like a lot of the game is, a lot of cool ideas, poor executions, but a spaceship that, you know, that's where we go back, get our spaceship, go to get our missions, get our ammo, buy new guns, do all our selling, trading, whatever. Cool. Perfect spot, especially if we're going to go planet to planet. Makes sense to make a spaceship being the hub area. But, oh my god, it's so claustrophobic. I walking around there, it's just crammed and annoying, and there's like all the different layers that don't feel like they match up right. It's just very poorly designed, unfortunately. And it sucks, because this is a cool idea. Not that Sanctuary 1 on Borderlands 2 was anything too exciting, but at least it made sense. It was just a simple circle. You could walk around and get all your stuff. Sanctuary 3 is just complicated. I get lost constantly. I don't know if you guys remember from the playthrough I did, if you watched any of those videos, I was getting lost on that ship so easily. And not because it's super complicated, it just felt like nothing really lined up right how it should have been. It was just so weird. So this isn't really a actual like prediction or anything, but they got to make it better. Like scrap Sanctuary 3. Something happened. Make another joke of like, you know, oh, like we don't talk about Sanctuary 2, presumably because like it's another ship that blew up or whatever. Cool. Give us Sanctuary 6. I don't care how many iterations you have to go on and how many jokes you have to make about them failing, but they can't use Sanctuary 3. The idea of Sanctuary 3 is awesome. I love the idea of a spaceship hub area, but they gotta make it more open. Make it a bigger ship. I don't know. Make it a fleet of ships. I don't care. Just make it better to maneuver around. Give it one layer. None of this 3-layer. You gotta go up and down and everything else. It was just frustrating to navigate. Now talking a little more about the environments themselves. I'm not talking broad strokes like, oh, we should get a new desert area, a new city area. That I already covered. I'm talking more the nitty gritty. Like, Borderlands 3 did a lot to open up interactable environments, and that is just such a cool thing that they added to the game. See, look at it. There's a Borderlands 3 compliment for you. I love that, like, the gas pipes you can shoot and, like, flames spit out or acid starts spewing out of them. I love how the barrels, you can now kick around a little bit to give you a little more play of where you actually want to mess with them. some cover you could shoot and it would start to deteriorate. Stuff like that is so cool in games. I want more of that. I want like certain giant walls that we can maybe like start shooting through or blow up to, you know, open up different areas in a shootout. Give us more like falling rocks we can like shoot and they fall down on enemies. Stuff like that just really make the game cool when you can use the environment. And I get it. It's a Borderlands game, especially later on when you get the guns to really match what you're supposed to be doing. You don't have the time to look around for stuff like that. But at least for the first playthrough and early game, it's just so fun to me to look around for those specific things, especially like if I'm not particularly worried about dying, because Borderlands 2 is a pretty easy game, so I could take the time to look and like, oh, there's a gas valve up there. Shoot that, flame spews on the guy. Didn't do a lot of damage, but it was just fun to do. Stuff like that's just fun for the game. And not only that, I love it when enemies interact with the environment. Like in Borderlands 2, when a bullywong would break off an ice spike and throw at you. Fucking awesome. I want to see more enemy like bandits start kicking barrels down from up on top of ledges. Have a bandit like break down a door to open it up to make a different sight line. Stuff like that's so cool when the environment really I don't want to use the word immersive because it's really not, but at least makes the world feel more lived in and actually feel more realistic. That's just cool that you can actually have that kind of interaction in the world, not just in killing the bad guys, but in like actually shaping the world just a little bit. I'm not talking like huge Minecraft levels of building a base and shit. I'm talking about just, hey, I want to shoot down that wall. And obviously not go too crazy. It is a Borderlands game. I'm not talking like Battlefield levels of indestructible environments. But being able to shoot down walls, getting more things like those barrels, being able to shoot down like rocks on enemies, stuff like that, it adds to the world in ways that just make the overall experience more fun. Well, that about does it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I could go into more detail about specifically, like, I would like to see a new Icy Tundra, because I thought that was a really cool area in 2. Or, like, it would be cool to see, like, a different spin on a desert. But for the most part, I mean, that really covers it. Bottom line is, we're definitely going to be traveling to different planets. I just hope that we get to go back to the planets that we've already been to and see new areas in them, like see different spins, like what we can get out of like Promethea, Eden 6, and Athena's Necrodefeo. I would love to see all the cool environments they can add to those planets. But that's just me. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Would you rather just go to all new planets? Would you rather spend the entire game on Pandora again? Or anytime on Pandora, really, because like I said, I don't really think we should spend much, if any, time on there. But that's just me. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching. Just a reminder that I am streaming every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pretty much just talking about Borderlands 4 predictions and playing Borderlands games. So that's a more direct, like, back and forth way to talk to me if you have any cool comments or anything you want me to add to these videos. Next time, we are going to be talking about the guns of Borderlands, which is a very big topic. So if you have any cool ideas for new guns they can add, let me know down in the comments, and I'll be sure to add it. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.